Now we're going to learn some basic level strikes. First strike we're going to practice is the overhead front strike. I'm going to show it to you from a couple of different angles, then we're going to break that down. Right, overhead front strike. As you notice, we're landing in our long front stance. Now let's get started. We have our normal hold. One palm is up, one palm is down. We're breaking the bow into a third. We bring up one knee, the knee that's going to be landed in front, which would be the right knee in this situation. As we bring the knee up, we prepare the bow on our shoulder by making it completely parallel to the ground. Knee comes up parallel to the ground. Knee comes up parallel to the ground. What we're doing is we're lining up the edge of the bow, the end of the bow, to our striking point, our striking target. We set forward as we complete our strike. Notice what happens here is the back tip of the bow is going to travel across and down and hit our striking point that we set up for ourselves. As we strike, we don't just keep our hands in thirds. We take that front arm and twist it. And we twist the bow to where instead of the bow facing us, we twist it outward. And also, our left hand slid down to our pocket as we did the strike. So watch this very closely. Knee comes up, strike. Again, knee comes up, twist the hand, slide it down. I'm in a good long front stance. I'm striking out. The bow is at an angle. It's not too high. It's not too low. My elbow's out slightly. I'm hitting the target. My target is about nose level right now. I could change my target range to anywhere I want. Remember, where I set up by bringing the knee up, that's telling me where I'm going to do the strike point. Next, let's look over the 4-point strike. This is often done after the overhead front strike. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now the 4-point strike is pretty straightforward. It's up, down, side to side. Couple of key points here though. You want to focus all your attention on one spot. Remember, we talked about focusing on where the tip of our bow was, that's where our overhead front strike is going to land. Well, wherever you land at your overhead front strike, that's where you want to complete your 4-point strike. 1, by bringing my arm up. 2, bringing the arm down. 3, swinging across. 4, swinging across. Now let me give you a look on this side. 1, 2, 3, 4. Notice how I keep this elbow up very straight. I keep it up high and level. If I do this here, I don't have very good control. I'm not going to keep the bow parallel to the ground. So all 4 points hit the same spot. If you need to practice in a mirror, just focus on your 4-point strike always hitting 1, 2, 3, 4, the same spot. Next, let's work on the overhead rib strikes. Generally, we do overhead rib strikes in a horse stance, okay? We have the bow in thirds over our head. We come down and across by swinging the bow inside, getting prepared, completing the strike. The strike comes around and through, hitting the attacker or the opponent's ribs as we finish at our own rib. Overhead rib strike, overhead rib strike, overhead rib strike. Notice that I bring it up over my head. I keep it parallel to the ground. I come back. Over my head, parallel to the ground. I come back. Let's take a look again. Parallel to the ground, over my head. Okay? That's the overhead rib strike. Now let's look at the front thrust. The front thrust is a power move, often done at the end of a combination. Let's look at the front thrust. The front thrust itself is very important to prepare for. By bringing our knee up, we're preparing for the front thrust. Our bow is prepped in a horizontal manner. We're actually going to draw it back. Now be careful when you're drawing this back. Make sure you have nothing behind you. If you have limited space, you can do a small drop back, but a nice full drop back. What happens here is we take our back arm and we let it straighten all the way out. Letting it straighten all the way out with a good parallel bow to the ground. Stepping out in a long front stance, all we do is transfer that energy. We transfer that motion from the left side all the way across to the right side. By completing a good long front stance and a front thrust, we're going to have a strong parallel stance, strong knee bent, back leg is straight, Notice my elbow is up. I'm still gripping the bow at the end, striking straight forward. Okay, that is the front thrust. Right, the last technique we're looking at is the uppercut. The uppercut, let's take a look here. Uppercut is fairly straightforward if you've done uppercuts before in boxing or sparring of any sort. The uppercut, we're in our normal hold in a third. We step out. We could be using more of a cat stance or even a back stance. We draw the bow under and come up, curling it forward. The bow finishes at more of a 45 diagonal, and the hand stays in the normal hold. Rather than sliding it way down, we keep it in the normal hold. Swing across. What I like to do at the end of the uppercut is, rather than just using my arm and doing this curling motion, rotate your hips and your body into the end of the uppercut. It's going to make for a more dramatic effect. It's going to be more powerful, of course, in a striking situation. And that's a tip I have for the uppercut. And those are our basic level strikes.